Okay, moving on to number 7. It says classify the figure in as many ways as possible. So looking at this here, we know that obviously right away we can say that this is not a rectangle because we don't know anything about the angles over here. So let's cross out any of them that have a rectangle. A, B, and D. Well, look at that. Then we're only left with C. And a rhombus, remember, a rhombus bisects this this line right here is bisected, which means that this side length and that side length right there is congruent, and this side length and this side length are congruent, and it also creates a 90-degree angle. All right, number 8. Find the value for the variables for each figure. So we know this is a parallelogram because I have opposite sides labeled as being parallel. So we got to remember back to when we were talking about parallelograms, what do we know about opposite angles? This angle here and this angle here are called alternate interior angles, and alternate interior angles are congruent. So what we're going to do is we're just going to set these two things equal to each other, 2x equal to 4x minus 40, and we can go ahead and solve this equation. Quick little two-step equation here. I get negative 2x equals negative 40, and divide by negative 2, I get x to equal 20. Okay? Okay, if we go ahead and look at number 9 here, there is actually a tiny typo. This should be a positive, and if it's not going to end up making sense in the long run. So make sure you change that to be a positive. And then, since I know that these opposite sides are congruent, I know that I can go ahead and set my opposite angles equal to each other. So I know that 3x is going to be equal to 2x plus 31, and then it's just a quick two-step equation. Subtract my 2x over, and I get that x equals 31. If that was a negative, when I plugged it back into this, that would make it a negative angle, which doesn't make sense. So this has to be a positive. Okay, so now that I know x, I need to figure out what y is. So in order to do that, I know that these two angles here that are next to each other are going to have to add up to 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and plug in 31 for x. If I plug in 31 here, 3 times 31, that gives me 93 degrees. So 93 degrees plus y is going to equal 180. And if I go ahead and solve that, I end up with y equaling 87 degrees. All right, moving on to number 10. It says determine whether the quadrilateral is a parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, square, or kite by using slope, midpoint, and or distance formula. Show the work to verify the answer. So this shape right here, ABCD, we can go ahead and check a few things. We can check slopes, we can check distances. So if I check all of my slopes, my slope of AB is I go up 1 and I go over 5. Yep, so 1 over 5. My opposite slope from that is DC. Again, I go up 1 over 5. Then I can go ahead and check AB or AD. AD would be going up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. So my slope there is 4, and my slope for BC is also 4. Okay, so since I know my opposite sides are parallel, all I need to do is check and see if the opposite sides are congruent. Well, if we go ahead and check my distances here, since my slopes were the same, they should end up being the same, but let's just double check. So AB is gonna be, if I think about Pythagorean theorem, I've got a distance of 1 squared plus a distance of 5 squared. I'm going to take the square root of that to find the distance. So if I plug that in the calculator, I get approximately 5.1. I will end up getting the exact same thing for DC because I also go up 1 and over 5. So again, 5.1. And then the distance of AD is going to be a little bit different. I have a distance up of 4. So I've got 4 squared plus a distance horizontally of 1 squared. Take the square root of that, and I get approximately 4.1. So I know BC is also going to be 4.1 as well. So I know that opposite sides are parallel and congruent, which means that we have a parallelogram. If my slopes were opposite reciprocals, that would mean that they formed right angles, and we would have to look and see, what does that mean? Is it going to be a rectangle? That kind of stuff. So parallelogram for this one.